great pleasure to have you here. Shantanu has spoken a lot about you, and I hope that today's interaction with you will be very rewarding for me personally as well as to all our listeners. So let me kick off this episode of the Iksula podcast. In this podcast, what we cover is the latest what's happening on consumer businesses, how technology is playing a role, how people within the business and the people business these businesses interact with, how are they behaving, how are they getting impacted, and what technology is gonna do and what it's gonna change in the next few years. So I have two very esteemed guests today. My first guest is Deepak Bhatia. Deepak is an industry veteran, a CXO, and somebody who is very respected and renowned in the industry. Deepak, it's a pleasure for us to have you here. My second guest is Shantanu. Shantanu is a business leader with about 25 years of experience, and he's the head of operation services at Iksula. So, without further ado, let's jump into this. And Deepak, would love to hear about your background, your experience, specifically in the topic today that we are covering around uh, how the customer service business and specifically the contact centers, how are they getting transformed, how they have evolved in the last 25 years, and what is going to change now. Would love to hear your background and your context on that.
Thank you, Anurag and Shantanu, for having me. I'm not too sure what all Shantanu has praised about me, and if I'm worth it or not. But let us see how the interaction goes.
All good things, Deep.
So you lie a lot. So my background, I think probably I'll start with my education. An engineer, electrical engineer, and I've done the MBA from IIM Bangalore. Um, it's an executive program. Um, then 33 years of experience in industry, and I kind of divide myself in four different streams. So I started
Mhm.
with electrical engineering in company like Siemens, where at that time in 1990s you join and retire in company like Siemens. And
Right.
so I was setting up power plants. I was into automation, industry automation, and uh, wealth of experience on retail channel network and too many things. So
Mhm.
and then a pleasant accident happened that a neighbor was the recruitment head of GE Capital when the Sunrise Industry in 2000, when BPO, or at that time IT enabled services, was getting formed, and I was setting up the high tech city building from an electrical engineering perspective. And this
Wow.
guy said, "Why don't you try this Sunrise Industry, etc., etc." So, from the youngest branch manager in Siemens at 28, 29 years of age, when all my direct reports were 50 plus, uh, I became the oldest senior manager in Jekis because at that
Wow.
time, average age was 22, 23, and I was 20, above average age. So that's the transition which happened. It was good experience. Started with GE, is a great company. Uh, Trained me well, etc., etc. Learned the art of the new trade, etc. And that's where my second phase of journey started. Next 10
Hmm.
years, uh, in various functions of BPO, but vertical wise, horizontal wise, did everything, and etc., etc.
Right.
And then the third phase is where Infosys gave me a chance to be a part of platform development team, where some jokers from BPO like me and some jokers from IT, they combined their head together and said, let us create some business platforms. So we created some business platform. Some of them failed, some of them succeeded, and that's how but we were early stage. So for example, in India, I was involved in Airtel Money. So before
Oh,
Paytm, Airtel Money was the first company to do the mobile money. And
hmm.
then, but Paytm took over. Now Paytm is in bad shape, so that's a separate discussion.
Absolutely.
Uh, and that's my third phase. And the fourth phase then is when I was driving my passion. I joined the Ministry of Health uh, uh,
Wow.
as a technical director of immunization division. That's when I took my first sabbatical, and I worked with the health system in the industry, in the country, immunization from X to Y level. Did some work out there. So, long story short, four four phases of my career,
Hmm.
and I think I love change. I love to learn new things, and that's what I am where I am.
Deepak, thank you so much. That sounds and that is a fantastic life journey, and I'm just hoping we get to learn a lot more from you as we
Thank
go
you.
forward. I'd love to keep interacting with you. So let's kick this off around what we want to talk today around the customer service, and I'll start with a simple experience I had today. So Paytm, as they said, I have a Paytm FASTag, and now I assume that it's not going to work after the 29th, or as the RBI extended beyond the 15th. So the Paytm had great service. I was able to cancel it, or at least put in a cancellation request. And then I tried with HDFC 3 times to get a new FASTag, and I couldn't online. Then I reached out to their customer service number, and the waiting time I had was 54 minutes. And I was shocked that in this age, I have to wait 54 minutes to connect with the customer service executive. I mean, that's what used to happen 20 years ago, not today. So that is probably a great point for us to start as I'm talking to two veterans of this industry. How has customer service, specifically in the context of contact centers, evolved, let's say, the last 20 to 25 years?
Uh, I think uh, great question, and this could be debated for 3 days. But but we'll try to finish it in 3 minutes.
Sure.
I think your example of Paytm,
Hmm.
any new age company like Paytm,
Mm-hmm.
they when they design their service, their prima facie design of design principle is that there
Hmm.
should be zero human experience, zero human interaction,
Right, right.
and that's how the IT products and platform get developed. So
Mm-hmm.
in a way, they are not very BPO friendly companies. So, so they are, and since I have the fortune of working that side in the developing
Mm-hmm.
platform and this side, I can
Hmm.
see both. So hence, when user experience is on the top priority for any Paytm kind of or any,
Hmm.
take an example of WhatsApp. How many times you have called the customer service of WhatsApp? Uh, so ideally, when you develop a product or a platform, the customer service should be self-care. So
Hmm.
that's today's journey, and new age companies are working towards that. No, but as we know, we started with pure play wired lines, PBX based switch based solutions. With some After some time, the call recording software started, then workforce management software started, and that's we started from there somewhere in 90s. And today we are talking about this. We are talking about zero human human interaction. The latest buzzword in the customer service industry is, uh, and there's a lot of data which has been research which has been done that, especially the millennials, they don't like to call the customer service. If
Right.
you enable them to solve their problem through self care, that's where you get the best NPS scores or best customer satisfaction scores. So if I am a part of a large organization and trying to develop my customer service strategy, I'll focus upon self-care. Or first, I will focus upon creating a Paytm or a Ola or a Uber, where we require zero customer interaction with human beings. Then I will say, okay, that cannot be the ideal world. There are banks, there are telecom, there are broadband companies, there are
Mm-hmm.
insurance company who claim need to be processed, bank statements have to be made, etc., etc. Broadband has to be set up. Uh, so then enable the customer through self-care. And then, if you are not able to, ideally 100% should be self-care, but if that's the ideal world, then if you come back, okay, then you should start with, if self-care, you have tried everything, then, there's a new concept, there's a not new, a 10-year-old concept, that omnichannel, so then you should automatically shift to a chatbot or a voice bot.
Uh-huh.
However, that interaction should be seamlessly passed on. That's called seamless omnichannel. If you
Right.
don't pass on, if your customer has to repeat the problem again, then it's
Mm-hmm.
the height of frustration for the customer. So
Absolutely.
all the steps he has followed, you should go to your chatbot, and chatbot should try. They should solve the problem. If they are not able to solve the problem, then you
Mm-hmm.
come to a human chat. If
Mm-hmm.
possible, then human chat should also see what all has been done and
Yeah.
what was done even 5 years back, and that's where AI get involved. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I think, and we'll talk about AI slightly later, but there are the opportunities where, customer profiling, the personalization, all those things should, with the help of AI and ML kind of thing. But we'll keep it short at this stage. And then, when it's finally come to the human voice, that
Mm-hmm.
is the most costly resource in this whole value chain. So
Right.
it should be minimized.
Mm-hmm.
And despite being most costly resource, it doesn't give you the best CSAT scores. Whatever best quality training, recruitment, best quality agents you have on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
you, as compared to a self-care, you get less customer satisfaction scores. So I might be talking against the current industry which Shantanu and you belong to, but
So, I'm glad.
but that's how it is. And having said that,
Mm.
ideally, machine cannot solve all the problems. So you can do
Understood.
whatever with the machine. But if
Mm.
you do the hybrid model, I think Shantanu's screen got frozen. Shantanu, you may have to
Yeah.
log in again.
Industry has, in my experience, right?
I think,
Sorry,
Yeah.
are you?
am I audible now?
There is some latency. So maybe probably I'll complete my thought and then you speak up.
Yeah.
Ideally, it's a hybrid model. Your AI or any other automation should, if
Mm.
it helps your human or an
Mm-hmm.
agent,
Mm-hmm.
it if it helps it to reduce its learning curve, its knowledge management tool, etc. If it there are decision trees which can be to help the agent and the
Mm-hmm.
customer experience, the hybrid model should be the best model in my mind. Over to you, Shantanu.
Yeah, no, thanks, Deepak. Point well noted, Deepak. I think you are correct when you say that the end goal is that you kind of enable the customers, uh, to do things on their own, and there is a certain section of population of the what we call as a Gen Z customer, or more, uh, more technical, techno friendly, techno, who has a greater technical understanding, right? They, for them, it is absolute bliss that they can do things on their own. I think if you look at the entire spectrum of the journey in the last 25 years, right, we have came a long way in terms of the customer service evolution. Like Deepak mentioned, right from the EPBX lines, where you would have a lot of issues in terms of the wait time and the connection
Mm-hmm.
drops, to then we move into VoIP services, right, which is where we looked at a better connectivity, better scale. That's around Y2K area, where we adopted contact centers, adopted VoIP, which allowed the communication to be transmitted over the internet rather than the
Right.
traditional telephone lines.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and from there we moved into the multi-channel services, right? So earlier it was only phone support, then we had a chat support
Mm.
and an email support, right? That kind of a multi-channel support system that has started during that period of time. And then we then looked at how we can have a seamless experience across all these channels. That's where the whole
Mm.
concept of omni-channel came in. And omni-channel, when omni-channel was thought about, you obviously have to think about cloud technologies, right? So cloud enabled the omni-channel to be seamless in nature. So that's where we looked at cloud and omni-channel in the last decade or so, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and now we talk about entirely transforming the entire customer experience, right? Where we talk about hyper your personalization, right? How
Right.
we can provide tailor-made solutions to the customers, which leveraging the artificial intelligence and machine learning, and can personalize the customer's interaction. The way that we have moved from and pretty much an analog way of life to is sort of predictive analytics, where we are
Mhm.
looking at each customer's matter. So in real terms, when you say that each customer's matter, it is this is the living proof of that your solutions are so tailor made that each of these customers really matter to you, and that's what the AI can enable uh, uh, you to achieve. So I think it is phenomenal transformation that we have seen over a period of time.
Got it. And yeah, I would completely agree. I mean, I myself have seen, albeit as a customer mostly, where maybe 15 years ago, the best way to reach out to somebody, to a bank or to a service provider, was you call in and you're going through the IVRS and then you're hoping to talk to somebody. To where I'm one of those digital natives, if I may, who does not like to talk to a customer service agent unless there is
Yeah,
an issue which cannot be solved. Otherwise, it's just too
correct.
much of a hassle. So that behavior, I would agree, and I think all of us have seen that significant shift in consumer behavior as well, especially biased, agreed on towards the younger audience, but definitely even for a very large percentage of people, they just don't want to waste that time, or as they think, don't want to waste their time trying to talk to somebody if it can be solved in a non-contact way, if I may.
Yeah, yeah,
So following up, and contact centers obviously have two primary notions that most of us have in mind. Either it's an inbound, or it's those, sorry for using the word, but those pesky sales agents calling you, right? Inbound and outbound, those have been the avatars, or the forms of customer contact centers that we have seen. But when you consider large enterprises, they are, and the ecosystem they operate in, there would be so many more functions that contact centers would be doing. So but would love to hear from both of you, what are those functions that are beyond the more common and the more banal of the contact center avatars that we see.
yeah.
Deepak, over to you, please.
Probably, I think, for the want of better word, instead of calling it customer service, I would rather start calling it customer engagement.
Mm-hmm.
And and today, from those days of outbound, inbound, outbound for sales or collection, and
Mm-hmm.
inbound for technical support or some basic queries to be resolved. That was the starting point of the journey, and today it is complete, complete customer life cycle management, starting from
Mm-hmm.
customer acquisition to order processing, support, product and service support, customer retention. Uh, Today, with social media becoming so powerful, and current generation needing instant gratification, uh, it is so very important that every company worth naming is tracking social media, how what's happening, sentiment analysis. So people are doing this today, that the sentimental analysis, then somebody is watching the whole media, what's happening, and then it gets back to the customer by way of some, either through Twitter or whatever, those particular channels, or they reach out to them on phone, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole game is becoming more and more complex. Technical support, you know
Mm-hmm.
uh, customer engagement strategies, loyalty programs,
Mm-hmm.
customer insights. So, when we receive so many calls from customer, or so many calls, chats, or whatever you call it, it is wealth of data available.
Correct.
And if you are, if your company sensitive enough as a organization, you do
Mm-hmm.
the customer analytics, and you can bring out huge
Mm-hmm.
data which can support you in your sales growth and other customer engagement growths. And here again, there is an opportunity for AI to start pitching in. Uh, you know, Today, if you I have a habit of post, if I'm not getting a good customer service, I put it on Twitter and I get a call in half 15 minutes. Otherwise, it doesn't. So,
Right.
but again, what they say, somebody will call you. or somebody, we will get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
uh, if you use AI to link all this with your backend CRM and all those things, and instantly try to resolve the problem. Okay, here's your resolution. And by the way, we are sorry that you had to go through this. And here is the, here is some loyalty points from our side as a gift. Like in a restaurant, they give you a free dish if you are not happy with
Absolutely.
the. So if you do this, it will take this to the next level of engagement. So so the industry has come a long way. So
Yeah. Yeah.
God.
So I think uh, the base remains the same, Anurag, when you talk about inbound or an outbound, right? Either the
Mm.
customers reach out to you or you reach out to the customer, right?
Right.
So that will remain the same. These are channels of communication that you have.
Mm-hmm.
But what is happening in this individual channel of communication has gone through landmark change, and that is where we are today. So when you talk about uh, the primary association of contact centers, while it remains inbound and outbound, today it serves caters to a large amount of uh, uh, functional services, right? So like
Mm.
Deepak mentioned earlier, it was only a technical support or a customer support maybe, right?
Right. Right.
Today you're talking about the entire customer's life cycle management. You talk about personalization. You talk about loyalty. You talk about post care services. Uh, uh, and how you channelizing these across. The Deepak just had a uh, give you a glimpse of that when you
Mm-hmm.
talked about linking the systems. But how do you really do it in these different services is something which is a huge transformation that we see today.
God. And Shantanu, as an extension of this, how about other enterprise functions? Because they are more stakeholders than, let's say, just your end customers. And they do need to reach out to you and they do need to interact with you. So, what role does contact center play in that aspect as well?
So see the when you talk about uh,
See, for example,
typically.
marketplaces. I was looking at marketplaces, something that we keep talking about, and
Yeah.
and Amazon has millions of sellers, and while it may have billions of customers, it still has millions of sellers, and there's issues about language, and there would be concerns about payment, and in B2B scenario, they'll be a lot keener to reach out and talk to a human being than look at
Yeah.
an FAQ.
Yeah, good point. See, the case in point, like I mentioned out here before, that we have moved away from a support per se, right? I mean, that's there. That's a base which is there. But if you look at a marketplace, right? Let's say a seller acquisition. Now,
Mhm.
your seller reach out program, which is designed to connect and to ensure that you get the right amount of sellers, the right kind of sellers, right,
Mhm.
in your marketplace, uh, and then while you do the acquisition, there is an element of customer service involved. There's also customer service involved in ensuring that they give you a higher GMV, right? So
Mhm.
how do you really enable them to have their merchandise being let's say displayed or
Mhm.
uh, listed basically, right?
Mhm.
And how do you ensure that they don't basically get into any kind of blacklisted uh, queue. There are list of things that they have to do from a governance perspective, from a better
Right,
management
right.
perspective. How do they look at the customer reviews, their customers reviews, and then convert that into proactive sales? So all of this, the paradigm of customer service has changed. It is no longer to only resolve customers issues. It is also to look at customer as a proposition to enhance your goals that you have as an organization. So and that's where we talk about customer retention, customer uh, uh, you know uh, loyalty, etc., and all of that. It is actually beyond that. How do you take the customer and propel your growth, right? create that positive experience to the customer, and ensure that that positive experience basically resonate with a lot other, and then it drives your company to a profitable growth. So that's where it is. And it's a horizontal service which sits across all functions or all industries that you have, right? So that's where the beauty lies out here in customer service.
Got it. Got it. So while there are so many benefits that we are, and you guys, you both of you, Deepak, you and Shantanu, you have talked about. When if I am an enterprise and let's say I have maybe 50,000 employees, what are the challenges companies like me are facing when they are operating these large scale contact centers? And let's say we've all heard about iterations, so that has been there, but more from the advent of technology, the challenges, yes, the challenges on the talent, the relevance part of it. How are enterprises seeing these, and what steps they are taking to improve their performance in this particular area? Deepak, again, the first question, I'll lob it to you. I would love to hear from your experience.
So while we are talking about customer service has changed and expectations and all that, but if you go slightly on more philosophical mode, the things have not changed. You need
Okay.
to you need to hire the right kind of people.
Mm-hmm.
You need to train them well. You need to create the environment for them, which their learning curve becomes better. You have to
Mm-hmm.
provide them enough tools around them so that they can service the customer better. More importantly, the attitude of serving your customer should be top priority. So that these things will not, the moment you need to have a human interaction, these are important things. And this still remains the biggest challenge. While IT, automation, AI, everything will come and help, but I think that for next 50, 40, 50 years, I don't see that there will not be any need of human interaction. Human interaction will be required despite whatever chat GPTs and other people in the world will do, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
so so talent recruitment, talent retention, training, learning curve, response time, customer engagement, these remains a challenge for the large organization, even the smaller organization. um, then um, Probably the other big challenge, I would say, the legal and other compliances. The regulators are becoming more and more difficult, and rightly so. The fraud and other potential frauds have become very big. Data security, PII, these, so the compliances and the sensitivity uh,
Mm-hmm.
is very important. So that's another challenge. Um, Omnichannel, everybody talks about omnichannel, but the essence of the omnichannel is that one channel information should be seamlessly passed on to another, which,
Right.
despite all this, which is rarely happening. If a customer service agent picks up a phone,
Mm.
despite you doing everything on the chat and everything, he or she will ask the question first. So, what can I do for you? And what is that? The person should say that I see this all has happened, and
Right.
you have tried this. Now I will try to do further. So I rarely hear that. So that's another set of problem. Um, and then, despite all the great innovations, legacy systems still exist,
Right.
uh, and poor agent has to deal with at an average 12 to 15 various system to be able to, who are not integrated with each other. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
some of these are the traditional challenges. Of course, the new challenge is when people are talking about chatbots and voice bots. Uh, Having said that, in our enthusiasm of improving productivity and showing that we use technology, sometimes uh,
Mm.
customer experience is forgotten.
Absolutely.
So my experience in when I go to US, and despite in this industry for so long, my accent is still a neutral accent. I don't speak an American accent.
Uh-huh.
I'm very happy for that my accent has not changed. And but if I had to call a customer service in US, 90% of them are voice bots. And
Right.
when I say something, they don't understand.
Mhm. True.
So, while they have done it to improve customer experience, ask me, as poor guy, I have a horrible customer experience when I have to repeat 5 times the same thing for them to understand, and then finally I hang up saying, you won't understand, leave it. so,
And,
So
so
and
that's a use case.
some of these challenges has to be
Mhm.
looked upon in my mind. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, Andrew, you were saying something.
The next gen, right? That's a use case for AI. How do you really ensure that uh, the uh, the accent neutralization, right? The model basically gets trained into multiple different accents pick up the synthesize the words perfectly. So any problem that you say today, it's which is being there in the industry is basically use case for the AI to get learned. That's the way that I see into it. So yeah, so Anurag, I think
Sorry, Shantanu, I'm
what the
sorry for interjection. I may disagree. While I'm an industry expert, for me, I'm a slightly traditional expert. That, for me, anything, if you don't keep customer at the center, right, left, everywhere, customer should be focused. If customer is not in focus, one fine day you will fail. So I'm not saying you are saying that customers should not be focused, but sometime in our enthusiasm of technology, we forget about customers sometimes, not intentionally, unintentionally
Mhm.
probably. So that's the point I
I,
wanted to make. Yeah.
I agree. I completely agree to that. Customer needs to be in the center of it. Anurag, I think what Deepak mentioned, some of the points are very valid in terms of the problems that we have, right? Uh, he spoke about compliance, and GDPR is one of the major compliance areas where you have to comply with the standards that you're operating, right?
Mhm.
And that's a very thin boundary. So earlier, even if an agent goes out of support boundary, there were not many ramifications you can think about, but today you really can't do that, right?
Right.
And how an AI can enable it is we will cover it as we move ahead. But all of these are basically use case for AI to basically ensure that you don't really go out of boundaries or out of support. But fundamentally, if you ask me, one of the biggest challenge that the industry is facing is the pace of change,
Okay.
with the consumer segment change, the behavior change, right? And that's where your your uh, your adoption to the change is the biggest issue, right? Today, it's like Deepak mentioned, right? Today generation basically they want instant gratification. They will they will buy it from an they would see a product on a store, buy it from Amazon, leave a feedback in Twitter, and expect that they need to have a resolution right then itself, right?
Mhm.
And how then technology can enable this entire experience is the biggest challenge today. I mean, you look at in our context in e-commerce industry, right? You
Mhm.
look at the grocery shopping, right? You have it's a mad rush for how soon can you basically deliver a product. I mean, looks like 10 minutes is even a long wait time for some of them. I mean, uh, gone were those days where you used to think that Domino's is fast enough. I mean, nobody is fast enough today, right? So
Nobody is.
that's what it is. Really keep up with the change. I think that's where the biggest challenge is today.
I'll share
No,
one funny story I had. Sorry, Deepak.
no,
Uh,
sorry, go ahead. So I just also wanted to give an example of the compliance. So I'll give it after you. After you.
yeah. So this is more a funny story in terms of a human versus a chatbot. That I ordered something. When you order something, let's say from a Swiggy or or a Zepto, basically the quick commerce or the delivery apps, and some item is missing. The funniest is you have to send them a picture of the missing item, or that's how the chatbot works, and then You click a picture of a tree and they will refund the amount. And I like, it's not about the money. I would have liked a resolution to that. And those are probably while that's a significant gap, and yes, the AI will play a role there, but those are cases where I think the human part will continue to be more relevant. I mean, again, it's an outsider's view, and also a wish. The second item, Deepak, what you said about the data part, the fragmented data, and maybe the 10 to 15 systems an agent has to look at. I think that does reflect in the quality of conversations you have with a chatbot or a voice bot, because beyond a point, even there is the accent part, and that personalization would be, even for a country like US, which has mostly people speaking either English, a minority speaking Spanish, uh, moving to Europe, or in a country like India, where
India.
India is a your dialect changes every 100 kilometers. So it's like
So
a unsolvable problem in that sense. But those are areas where while AI will play a role, I think the human angle would also be extremely critical.
yeah, and I was making a point that even if you use AI, the sensitivity for keeping customer in the center is very important. What is why? How can somebody give you picture of missing item? This is
Right.
silly, silly to ask that, right? Somebody didn't think about it. It was probably a copy paste that you have received a damaged item, usko copy
Yeah.
paste kar diya. So whatever. So the point on compliance, I was just recently happened in the banking industry, where for a collection call, if in US, if you if your customer says don't call me again, you're not supposed to call him again,
Okay.
and that's a legal requirement. Now that's how customers are protected in that country. And unfortunately, our dialer was not, or I think our agent did not put this comment on the dialer, so dialer kept dialing. And there are people who enjoy these technical glitches. That guy kept receiving those calls over a period of 2 3 days, and then we got a lawsuit of $700,000.
Wow.
So,
It's crazy. Yeah.
and the bank had to pay it,
Right. Right.
and bank paid it, and they were recovering it from us. We are the back office. So again, something happened. We came out with some solution, but this could be as silly as that agent did not type that required thing in the dialer, and
Yeah.
dialer kept calling. And there are
Absolutely.
people, that guy got richer by $700,000 by receiving some 20, 30, or 40 calls. And they were all like 30-second call. If somebody was doing his job,
Hmm.
he would have checked, "Ye kya ho raha hai? Why we are making 50 calls in for 30 seconds each?" But that's the trickier part of this. So
And yes, the compliance part is extremely becoming extremely rigid and very sensitive, especially for people operating on this side of the fence. I was talking to another friend of mine, and they were using outbound calling for sales lead generation in California. They got hit by a $700,000 of, I think, no, it was about $500,000 worth of a lawsuit, for because I'm on DND, I'm on DNC, I'm protected by, I think they referred CCPA, and they're fighting it. So compliance is probably, yes, one of the biggest challenges, that free for all, which works in probably jurisdictions which are a little lax. If it's not curtailed and not ring fenced in the other geographies, yeah, it has potential to cause a big amount of damage to the organizations. Great. So now let's come to the central topic, AI, and we have talked about how AI works. But if I were to ask you, what are those three areas, Deepak, that you see AI making the biggest difference, and where it could make the biggest difference? What would be your wish list? I think we will leave the will make is a prediction, but where would you want it to make the biggest difference? The three things that you would count out, or you would call out.
uh, I think AI can play a role in literally every aspect. However,
Hmm.
I think with low, low intervention, high impact point of view, uh, probably again, I would still say that companies should use this to enable their self care uh, as much as possible, because
Mm-hmm.
that's how the customer will be happier, especially the millennials. And today in country like India, they're 70% plus is less than 30 years of age or whatever that.
Yeah.
So how can you enhance self care using
Mm-hmm.
AI? And there are a huge number of use cases possible. So that could be one. Uh, the other could be, I think, I would call it assisting agent. You can call it any name you can give it. In Infosys, we developed something called Assist Edge.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody calls this Agent Assist, whatever names you want to give. How can you enable your agent um, to do better without getting stressed out?
Mm-hmm.
See, the industry data says the longer the initial training period and perception of a complex process, the 0 to 90 days attrition is the highest,
Okay.
because they just can't handle the pressure of taking a call
Mm-hmm.
after 1 month or 2 months of training. So if you are able to support them with the tools, so ideally I would say that one use case can be that agent has got the call, AI assist is already on the side open. It continues to tell you, okay, we have checked this, we have done this. Oh, this customer seems to be in a bad mood, so do this. Now it's up to human being to decide whether he wants to take his advice or not. But okay, have you explored this? Explore, go there. If it's a broadband technical support example, okay, have you done the line testing? Have you done this? Have you done whatever, whatever? So if you are making agents' life easy, so first
Got
is
it.
definitely self-care. Second
Mm-hmm.
is how can we, you know, make a seamless omni-channel solution. And
Mm-hmm.
third is how can you make life of uh, an agent easy so that he or she can serve your customer better. And probably last, in this day and age of social media, I think your sentiment analysis
Right.
on a real time basis and taking actions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that could be one great use case. In fact, Shantanu was discussing this with me sometime. It is his idea, and I'm just borrowing his idea. That I like that particular concept. That you do a real time analysis, make an outbound call if required, make a human call, and then simultaneously, if it was a small issue, solve it and give them some loyalty bonus points, or something like a restaurant that gives you an additional dish.
Mm-hmm.
There can be 10 more examples, but these are, I think, top three, four for me. There could be, quality testing. There could be feedback. There would so many others. But if you want two, three, these are the three, four big ones.
Got it.
Yeah.
Shantanu, over to
So
you.
I'll just add my quick 2 cents to it, right? I'm not sure how quick it would be, but see, let's look at the AI use case, right? The first thing is clearly that we need to look at uh, how do we reduce the number of transactions.
Mm-hmm.
That's plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that's where you look at the voice bots and the chat bots, using NLP. How much can you take it to the bot and take away from that human, right? So imagine if you're having 100 uh, calls, right? Or maybe let's say 10,000 calls in a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you look at the nature of these calls, right? Typically 60 to 70% of these calls would be rule based. Now it would be simple rule, complex rule, but at the end of the day it's rule based, right? The idea is to drive more and more traffic of the
Mm-hmm.
rule based chats to the chatbots and the voice bots so that they can basically self serve or kind of help the customers do the things on their own,
Mm-hmm.
right? uh, so that's the number one use case, and that's where you have to have the LLMs needs to keep developing,
Mm-hmm.
keep learning more and more on their own, right? Then the next use case that you look at is I spoke about the compliance, right? GDPR and many other compliance, CCPA, for example. There are many compliance regulations that are applicable. So how your information that you're passing to the customer, you have to ensure that, it's a stitch in time, right, saves nine. So you have to ensure that you're not really sending anything which is compliant. Let's say in a chat transactions, you cannot ask a question which is a PIA question. If you're asking a question that is flagged out, it doesn't go to the customer. So there is a real-time filter that sits out there, which is basically prohibiting you to send those to the customers. So that's the technology will move, and AI will continuously work on that area. This is the second part. The third part is intelligent routing. Now, when I say intelligent routing, see, tomorrow's world would be where it is not only a routing. I mean, tomorrow's world was yesterday's world was that you route the customer with the logic of who's the most available, right? For how long that the agent is available, you basically transmit the
Yeah.
conversation to. That's not how it would be in tomorrow's world. The AI is going to transform it significantly, wherein it would look into the nature of the customer,
Mm-hmm.
the type of customer it is, which is the customer past history record, in the transaction that has happened, the sentiment analysis that it has done. It basically do a personal analysis of the customer, and then match it with the personal analysis of the agent.
Mm-hmm.
The agent who's best fit to handle that kind of a customer. The customer could be either an irate customer as a nature, or the customer could be someone who's more tolerant, right? Or is more, let's say, technically savvy, less
Mm-hmm.
technically savvy. How do you take the customer's persona and fit it to the agent who's able to serve him the best, right? That is where it would move in tomorrow, right? That's another area where you would see a use case coming in AI. The other use case that Deepak was talking about is which I was discussing with him, is that, look, the outbound calls is going to get transformed significantly today. I mean, you have a customer who, with a bad experience on, let's say, Amazon, he's got a product which is, packaging is not good, right? He would not spend a moment to basically, put a feedback in Twitter. And imagine if this guy has 100,000 followers, the ramification of that negative sentiment that has got for Amazon, right? So so while you see today that Amazon or Flipkarts or Mintra, they would basically immediately have one comment on the customer's comment, which is being put like, we have seen the issue, we will reach out to your services. It is also going, AI is going to transform that kind of an playing field also. It is going to basically take the customer's input, which is where what is happening is you have a brand watch today, and it is seeing the 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 comments about that brand and is picking up. That's what the AI will pick up. It will transform it completely. It would do a sentiment analysis and understand if the sentiment is negative or positive.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the customer's record, pull the customer's history, understand the solution that has been provided to the customer, and not repeat the same solution back to the customer, but provide some other solution to the customer.
Right.
And then have a put a lien on that account so that a voice outbound call can immediately happen, and link it to a loyalty points basis on the customer's history with you. If the customer has a long association and has been have a good purchase history, you would rather be retaining that kind of a customer rather than having a customer who is low purchase. So you can tailor made your services, your response, not only your response but your services and offerings to a customer basis the kind of net worth of the customer for you, right? That's where the real transformational change that you will see. And then you would have, you would also suggest what kind of a response that the customer should be putting, which is a positive reinforcement on the negative message that he has sent, right? That closes the loop, right? So that's where you see the art of possibility on what the AI could do.
Mm-hmm.
Besides Deepak mentioned agent assist, then there is a quality, automated quality. An automated quality is the greeting to ending, right? It basically measures the transaction in those finer parameters, and then it automatically rates. And then also it does automated feedback to the agent basis the nature of, person of the agent, where he has the tendency to make mistakes in a certain area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Suggest the product knowledge test accordingly. So that is it's an endless possibility when you talk about how where the AI can play in this game. And some of these you will see coming to life in our services also when we talk to our customers.
Absolutely, and we keep talking about it. And to all our listeners, we are working on a lot of exciting things. So please stay tuned in the, if I may. So very quickly, and I think we are hitting the 50-minute mark, so we may have to wind up soon. It's a Friday evening, and I think everybody wants to go for a drink and a dinner. But if you were to build a playbook, uh, how should companies adopt AI? I mean, if it were to look at contact center, and I have this whole set of or whole plethora of AI technologies coming in, what playbook should I use? How would I drive the transformation? Deepak, your experience and your vast experience in the industry, what would businesses do well to keep in mind when they are adopting AI?
Okay. So at the cost of repetition, keep customer in the center,
Absolutely.
which is most important.
Hmm.
Uh, Let our enthusiasm of AI not take over, not ignore the customer. So that's important. I think from an organization perspective, uh, this there has to be alignment of the top leadership.
Okay.
It has to be a strategic change. It can't be a tactical
Hmm.
project by some vice president or something, a senior, a
Hmm.
junior person. It has to be coming from the top. And I don't mean that to use word vice president, etc. That was just an
Absolutely.
example. It has to come from the top.
Hmm.
Then it need to have a proper change management process in place, right? uh, it's important that with whatever good things we say about no AI will not take your jobs, etc., finally it will take repetitive jobs, it will take rule based jobs.
Hmm.
So वो एक हिंदी मूवी आई थी एक जमाने में, नया दौर, वो टांगे वाला और रिक्शा और वो बस की लड़ाई थी। आज भी वही लड़ाई है, वो लड़ाई तो चलती रहेगी, मैन वर्सेस मशीन लड़ाई विल ऑलवेज बी ऑन,
Always be on.
राइट?
Absolutely.
And so the change management has to be done.
Hmm.
How will you deal with that change? How will you motivate your employees? The good way of doing it is that you tell them that you need to enhance your skills, and rule
Hmm.
based job would be done by a machine, and then you do better job. You will enhance you at all those things, etc., etc. So change management is very important. Then identification, of risk reward. Where should you touch it? You can't paint the whole organization with the same brush. So
Hmm.
wherever the risk reward is high,
Hmm.
let's touch those things first. Where with a small intervention, you get larger bang for the buck. So
Hmm.
identification of the programs, process, etc., etc. Then obviously as a part of change management, training and culture programs, etc. So that it's a part of change management. Then after you have done all this, then identify a small pilot and make it happen, rather than trying to do a big bang change. You
Hmm.
know, if you do the pilot, then and if you do it successfully, one, you will learn the hurdles on the way, and second, if the pilot gets successful, then you have a proof of the pudding in front of management that this works, and you learn in the bargain. Um, I think that could be then if you do the pilot again as a part of change management, again, build that trust and transparency in all this, ethics,
Hmm.
responsibility. AI could be misused. We all know it.
Right.
So, it's important to draw your boundaries and rail guards. Otherwise,
Hmm.
it could be. Uh, then continuous optimization. See, when I got this experience of voice bot of US don't understand my language, but Shantanu came back and say, we'll train him. So, continuous learning and continuous optimization.
Hmm.
I think hybrid model is very, very important.
Understood.
You know,
Understood.
how can AI, uh, along with human, can
Hmm.
enhance customer experience, can reduce cost? I think the hybrid model is there to stay, I think, in my mind. And then obviously the partnership, build, buy together, all those things. So, it could be good commercial model. It could be outcome-based models we should be talking about. Uh, but I don't think we should follow a shortcut. Take if we find a good customer
Hmm.
who's willing to do it as a vendor, my advice would be go with small pilot first rather than trying to change the whole organization.
Absolutely.
Because if you fail, then it could be very, very dangerous.
Got it. Thank you, Deepak. Shantanu, you would want to add
I
something?
just no, I think Deepak has covered mostly. I just want to add to it, right? One or 2 points. See, one is this build versus buy, right? That Deepak has told.
Hmm.
I think the art is today for organization to look at uh, how they can stitch it together well, right? You can't
Hmm.
really be building everything. I mean, LLM for a matter, right? There are multiple large learning models which are existing. I mean, there is no, unless you have a very unique use
Hmm.
case, right? There's no point for you to basically invest in creating an LLM because it's going to be costly and it's going to be you need to have an extra large big data elements for you
Hmm.
to basically have meaningful results, right? So I think the organization needs to have be very smart in understanding that who are the service provider that they need to go with, right? Who can basically stitch it together for them, right? It's not one solution fits all. That's not
Right.
going to be the case because I think that's where the organization needs to have a real watch out for. Uh, and the other thing is like Deepak mentioned that it's a matrix. It's high risk, uh, uh, and high reward items needs to be tackled first when you're talking about AI. So for you to decide which are my components or which are my functions or which are my area that I need to quickly look into putting into an AI or automation, that matrix is very important for you to understand. Anything which is of higher risk element, you basically ensure that you move into AI and also have a human element to it for at the end of the day. Anything which has got a high reward, you do the same.
Hmm.
So where you need to put it, what is your design is something that you have to really understand it well. I think these are some of the things in explaining or uh, detailing it to what Deepak has mentioned. I think that plays very important for as a playbook for organization.
Got it. Thank you, Shantanu, for that insight. And I think it's time to wrap up. So, some final words, Deepak. I always ask this question whenever I'm talking to somebody about AI. There's a hype and there's a reality. Uh, where do you lean? I mean, is the hype we are seeing around AI justified, or and in this context as well, in this context of contact centers, or is it still something where reality will be a lot less than what is being promised right now?
Uh, so I'll go back to Nayador example. I think this is a continuous journey of man versus machine, and this will
Absolutely.
continue to happen. Now,
Hmm.
in this world today, which is so much information heavy, information dose heavy, social media, this, that. In Nayador time, one bus would have come and nobody else would have known. Today, one bus will come somewhere and the whole world, all 7 billion people will know in 5 minutes. So that also leads to hype, right? So, in my mind, so much of, and by the way, all of us create hype. All these marketers create hype. How
Upgrading.
much of hype was created by the same set of, chat GPT guys, we don't know. So, I think it has a huge potential. Um, for me, in last 50, 60 years, what has been the biggest game changer from a technology perspective? If I have to identify, first I will call television, then I'll call mobile phones, and probably in mobile phone, the smartphone comes as a part of mobile phone in my mind, and
And the
then
internet.
third would be in my mind, and third would be AI. In last 50 years,
God.
these would be the top two, three, disrupting innovations which has come to the world.
Got it. Got it. Shantanu, final words on this one, on
Yeah,
the
I
topic.
think, yeah, I'll thank you, Anurag. I think I'll go back to what Deepak has mentioned in the beginning, right? Keep the customer in the center. See, if you do innovations which are keeping the customers in the center, if you build automation, artificial
Mhm.
intelligence, right, machine learning algorithms, everything keep the customer in between, you're going to be successful, right? If you build, and like how the China Evergrande story, right? You have houses being built like there is a ghost town, nobody lives
Mm.
out there, it is meaningless. If you build a bridge uh on a road that no one travels, what's the point, right? So the idea is
Absolutely.
to do innovations which is keeping the customer centricity in mind. So
Mm.
in terms of contact center, uh, how you can make the customers life
Mm.
easy, how you can ensure that you create more positive experiences for the customers, and you
Mm.
will have to adapt to the changing landscape. There is no, I mean, you can't really be lagging behind, so you'll have to. And it is not always technology is a solution, right? Sometimes basic common sense is also something which is very uncommon. So you'll have to really look at how do you apply the principles, apply the need, do the assessment,
Mm.
look at the ROI, all of this very very smartly, right? It has to resonate with
Mm.
the needs of an organization, the capability of the organization, and also the customers, serve the customers need. I think that's where it is extremely important for us to understand that not all innovation is going to be meaningful. It just needs to be more meaningful in terms of serving the customer's need.
And on that note, I think we'll wrap up now. But it's been a fantastic conversation, very insightful, a lot of fun as well. Deepak, thank you so much for making time to talk to us today. Shantanu, thank you for getting Deepak for this call, and I wish you gentlemen a great weekend. Have a good time, and hopefully we'll reconnect in some time and have another interesting conversation. Thank you,
Sure. Thank
everyone, for
you, Anurag.
listening.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank
you,
Thank you,
you.
Deepak.
Deepak.
Thank you.
Shantanu. Good night, guys. Bye.
Thank you.